What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with the MLB Power Rankings Week 16. This week, it's only going to be just a few games and a few changes here with the 3-game, possible 4-game weekend as well that some of the teams had. But let's jump right into the video here. Hitters of the week. We got Chas McCormick and Kerry Carpenter. These guys had a great 3 games coming out of the All-Star break. Chas McCormick had that 2-home run game against the Angels on Sunday Night Baseball. And then you had Kerry Carpenter had a 2-home run game, a 4 RBI game in Seattle as well, and really was a key factor in Detroit pulling out that road series victory against the Mariners. And then we have the pitchers of the week with Corbin Burnes and Kyle Bradish. Burnes had an excellent start against a red-hot Reds team, no pun intended. 13 strikeouts, a win, and a quality start in the process, where Bradish went 7 1/3, 8 strikeouts, and limited the Marlins to only 3 hits. So you can safe to say these guys had 2 great starts coming out of the break. The dogs of the week are all 6 of the teams that went undefeated in last weekend's series. So you can see there it's the O's, the Brewers, the Twins, the Giants, the Rangers, and the Blue Jays. And all of these teams right now are in playoff contention. So that's something to monitor as we start diving in here. Almost, we are halfway through July and we're almost to trade deadline, just 2 weeks away. So, these teams, they got to start playing well, and they're going to see how these last 2 weeks shape up to see if they're going to be sellers or buyers at the deadline. And some of those sellers more than likely will be on this list. The A's, especially, and possibly the Pirates as well, where you have some good teams here that just had a bad weekend in tough sets. And we'll jump to the biggest movers of this weekend. Yeah, and only 3-4 games for some teams. Diamondbacks, Marlins moved down a huge amount with 6 and 5 spots. And then the Red Sox are moving up 4 after a sweep last week. And then we got 30 through 21. Not much has changed here. 30 through 27 remains the same. Pirates move down 2 after getting swept. And that's where the White Sox and Cardinals move up after a 2-1 weekend. The Mets, had some tough luck losses against the Dodgers, going 1-2. Brett Baty struggled to catch a fly ball. Frank the Tank was mad. Just a typical week for the Mets. And the Padres, they're oh so close. They just can't get over the hump of 500. It seems like at this point in the season, they could possibly be sellers at the deadline too. Maybe, a trade that no one sees coming happens and they get a load back in return. And then you look at the bottom of the list with the Rockies, Royals, and A's. These teams, there's always next year, it seems like, but it's going to be a long time for all of these teams till they are in contention. 20 through 11 is where things shake up a little bit. 2019 stay the same after the Cubs and Angels lose some weekend series. Guardians moving down 1 because they fell in the division behind the Twins, who moving up 1 after a 3-0 weekend. So just like that, they gained 3 games on the Guardians. The Mariners at 16 stand pat after going 1-2 against Detroit at home out of the break. Not a good look for them after they hosted the All-Star game. Yankees and especially the Diamondbacks are moving down. Yankees, had a rough series against the Rockies, should have won at least 2 of those games, but, got walked off on Sunday, and it just didn't go well for them. Diamondbacks have lost 8 out of their last 10, making them 2-8 in their last 10 games. And they're starting to fall back here as the Dodgers are starting to climb. I thought the Diamondbacks could legitimately contend for the NL West. They'll have to pick it up here shortly if they really want to have a good shot at that, or else they'll have to be playing for an NL wildcard berth. Brewers and Giants move up spots after their 3-0 week, and a good week for both of them. Then the Reds are moving down 1 after, not playing some good baseball last weekend. They're still in games, but it just seems like they need some more stability. All the hype was around him when Elly De La Cruz got up, but now he's a regular, and they're trying to figure out day-to-day games. And then 10 through 1, and it really doesn't change in the top there, but the Marlins drop out of the top 5 all the way to 10 after, a very tough series on the road in Baltimore. They get swept, but they were in every game, so I couldn't take them out of the top 10. They did have that competitive spirit. They still don't have Jazz. It seems like he's played, I think, less than 30 games, and they need him back in the lineup to be that guy, the plug and play, the spark that the Marlins need. The Phillies are moving up 2 spots, jumping back into the top 10 after 3-1 weekend against the Padres. They looked great. Harper finally broke his home run streak since May 16th. So hopefully he can start turning it on here in the second half. The Red Sox, as I mentioned earlier, up four after a 2-1 weekend, not a sweep. They're right there in the AL East. That division's getting crowded very quickly. They do need a lot to happen. The Yankees are still ahead of them, but they still need a lot to happen for them to possibly win the AL East. But the wild card is not far off. Same for those Blue Jays. They need to keep playing that 3-0 baseball. And they're another team in the AL East that could possibly get up there. I know that you can see that it's 5 games back for them right now. The Blue Jays are the deepest team, I think, in that division, most balanced team as well, hitting and pitching. They just need to fix a few things in the bullpen. Besides Romano, the bullpen's a little shaky. At 6, I have the Houston Astros, 2-1 week. Nothing to write home about. But the AL West is crowded this year. You can see those Rangers still ahead of them in the division by 3 games. And speaking of those Rangers, they're up 2 after a 3-0 weekend. Seager, now that he's finally healthy after a month removed, he's looked great. Simeon's looked great. Young's looked great. Nate Lau has looked great. Adolis Garcia is great. The hitting aspect is there, but can the pitching be consistent enough to lead this team possibly deep in the playoffs? And then 4 through 1, they're all staying the same after some great weekends for all these teams. As I mentioned earlier, the O's sweep the Marlins at home. Rays, Dodgers go 2-1. Then the Braves just have seemingly been the best team in baseball for the last month. And, it's hard to not be when you have a loaded farm system still calling guys up and you get pitchers to just throw lights out, essentially. And I think they're going to address the pen yet again in the trade deadline. You can always add some more pen arms, but that's going to be it for this week's video. Make sure you guys come back next week to see where your favorite team ranks as we get 1 week close to the trade deadline. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.